I've been doing this thing called the weird haircut of the week, where I cut a haircut on a doll that a person would, it's like a hard haircut to do, but a person will never ask you for it, kind of a haircut. It's hard, it's accurate, but it's ugly. And you don't, you don't want it. Or just overtly creative. It's like so too creative for the salon.
Welcome to the Hairpreneur Show, the show that teaches you, the hair pro, how to work smarter so you can make more, work less, and live a purpose-driven life on your schedule, not your clients'. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon, and each week I'll teach you awesome, actionable ways to tap into your personal greatness. Through marketing, mindset, and confidence training, it's time to unlock the next level of you. Let's grow. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hairpreneur Show. I'm your host, Ryan Whedon. Today I've got an awesome guest, somebody I'm very excited to talk to. His name is Jacob Kahn. You know him. He's the man, the myth, the legend. He is the he's the owner and creator of Fancy Hairdressers and Fancy Scissors. You know those really fancy looking gold scissors you see all over the internet and Instagram? Those are his. He is a salon owner of Jacob K Hair and brand ambassador to Goldwell. Please welcome Jacob Kahn.
Hey, what's up, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm getting better at those intros now. This is good.
You're good.
I could be like a ringside soon.
You're born for the radio.
Exactly. Got a face for radio. This is great.
No.
Awesome, man. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
You don't even know why you're here. We're just going to chat.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I've already stood you up once, so I'm happy to have finally made it this time.
No worries, man. So what's going on in your life, man? Today is a kind of a big day in Georgia right now. I know this is going to be released several weeks. Did you say, is it? Well, there's that whole election
what is going on? Is there something happening in Georgia?
There's something always happening in Georgia. It seems like
we've been highlighted this year. It's driving me out of my mind, actually. It's like I received a text message and a call every hour on the hour from people trying to get me, just telling me to vote most of the time.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
If I had minutes, dude, I would be well over minutes. I'd be out of text. John Ossoff and David Perdue, both of them are out of minutes completely. They've spent more money on text advertising than anything. And we all know. Anyway, I'll go on for hours. But that's true. Yes, today is the day.
Well, tell me about these gold scissors that I see everywhere. And why do I not have a pair yet?
I was curious about when you were saying that, you said you see them everywhere on the internet. Is that true? Like you see them all over the place?
Of course, I see you with them. I see my buddy Ray with them. They're hard to not see. It's like once you see it, you just kind of see it everywhere. It's just that
from
gold.
The inside looking out, you hope for that like kind of recognition, but
I feel like I see it a lot.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you see it everywhere. So yeah, Fancy Scissors is what they're called. And we're actually being like the whole thing about fancy is we sort of took issue with the industry and education and tools and stuff like that. We always feel like maybe stuff gets like puffed up a little bit. Like there's a lot of ego. A lot of times it's like if you're an educator, you're like, I'm like this fancy educator and I'm like a professor and I think so much of myself and whatever, and so initially it was sort of like a joke. We were like, oh, I'm a fancy hairdresser, but then it just played so well that you're like, if you're a fancy hairdresser, you have fancy haircut, fancy color, all this stuff. But really we're like, the idea of it is that we try to keep things pretty simple, actually. It's like not overly fancy. And the same with the scissors, the same thing. Looking into scissors, I've spent a lot of money on scissors in my career. Probably spent thousands of dollars on scissors like throughout the time that I've been doing hair. And then you kind of look you get on the back end of scissors and you realize, oh, I spent $1,000 for that. And it was like, it cost them a tenth of that to purchase it. So the markup for scissors just seems to be insane, right? So we wanted to make a scissor that was affordable, that you didn't like have to go into a payment plan, like go into debt, like all of a sudden, like, you didn't make people are coming to repossess your scissor if you miss your payment or whatever, you're getting your wages docked.
That's how I got all my scissors early on in my hairdressing career when I couldn't afford anything. Oh, it's only $20 a month for 40 years.
And you're like, I think I just paid off my first pair here 50
exactly.
years later. Yeah, I mean, that was totally the thing. I mean, we all did that. If you wanted quality and you didn't have the money, because we made minimum wage, I don't know about you, my first couple of years in the salon, like assisting and then whatever, I made minimum wage.
You're squeaking by.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No guaranteed tips, none of that stuff. Just like you should be happy to work here kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, so we wanted to make a scissor that was good and that was affordable. So, but not only that, was that people would ask me, like, they would see me do something or like see some good hair cutter do something and say like, well, what scissors are those? And I'm like, well, don't even worry about that, because it's not the scissor. Like, it's not the scissor that's making the hairdresser. It's the hairdresser that needs to make the scissor. As far as like, our scissors are $160, right? So they're very, very affordable scissor. We did some like comparison to other scissors that'd be similar metal and similar kind of situation to these scissors. And we got it was like $250 to $300 is what people were charging. So we cut the markup to $160 so that, we're still able to be open. We're not bankrupt or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can give people something for under $200 that you can buy, that you don't have to think about like, well, if I get this, do I need to get with this or groceries? I know I need baby formula, but I also need these scissors. You shouldn't have to have that thought. So, that's why we made the scissor. But yeah, what was I saying before that?
No, that's amazing though. Is this something that you want to get into the hands of? I feel like everybody should have a pair of these if they're that affordable and that good, even maybe potentially in cosmetology schools and kits.
Well, I would love to see that in cosmetology schools, but, I guess for us, that would be, depending on who got it, we'd have to be able to make enough and make them fast enough,
Good problem.
They're a little bit better than like what you would say your mannequin scissors or something like that. It's not like they're like that low end. It's like a 440C steel. It's like a Japanese, like sourced molybdenum alloy, but it's not like, everyone says like, oh, these are made in Japan, Japanese steel. So many things can be Japanese steel. It doesn't really like necessarily mean anything. But so we partnered up with another company, Kenshi, that does production for us. They get sharpened locally in Georgia and packaged and then shipped out. So the idea is that, you could go and get another scissor that's like a better scissor. Like you could go buy a Lamborghini, or you could drive a Honda, right? So I kind of describe it as like, this is your reliable, it's going to work. It doesn't break the bank. It looks great. And with the right training and care, it's a scissor that will last you forever. If you decide, I want to spend $800 and go get a VG10 handmade, there's a dude with a hammer and sparks like flying everywhere, like making like every little piece by hand. You can do that. I mean, you can definitely find a higher end scissor, but I don't think that you'll find a scissor that's this quality for this price. And the original idea is like, we want to make the scissor available so people don't have to break the bank, but we also want to be like imparting the idea that you need to be focusing on training, and that these tools, no gimmick, no tool, no swivel, no amount of teeth in a texturizer, is going to make you a good hairdresser. Like you got to work to get there.
Now, has cutting always been your thing? Have you ever done color?
I do color right now.
Yeah, you do color right now. I seem to think that I see more videos with you cutting hair.
You do. I didn't do color for the first 4 years. So it's been like 13 and change, almost 14 years or something that I've been doing hair. So the first 4 years I didn't do any color. I just cut. But then I at 4 years, I decided to take like an educator program at like a cosmetology school to get my educator license. And when I was doing that, I was like, oh, great. Can I be departmentalized? And they're like, no. So I'm like, okay. So I, threw myself into mannequins. I mean, I knew enough about color. I knew not enough. I knew enough. Colors, whatever. I mean, it's only chemicals.
You got the job done.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't completely unfamiliar as far as like, I had some foundation, and then I just like really needed to get into application, muscle memory, like building up that kind of dexterity the same that I had for cutting. I'd say at this point, like my confidence level for cut and color is the same. Like I feel good about doing both, but I like really enjoy doing cutting more. Not that I do everything for all my clients. I mean, I do cut and color, and I would prefer not to give up either one. But if I was forced to give up one, I would be like, I'll cut,
Right.
I'm impatient is what it is. I'm like, put something on, especially nowadays. Like color early, when I was like a partial meant a partial, where I was like, I'm going to put like 10 foils in there or whatever, some weaves, And now it's like, well, this girl's hair looks like this, or I guess it's light. I'm trying to make it dark. It looks like this. And then she wants it to look like this. And, so you're like, all right, this is going to take 12 hours or something like that. I don't have the patience to, I do, because I do it, but I don't have that like built
transformation type.
I love that.
Right.
Like I want to spend 12 hours changing this person's hair color. Like I don't want to do that. I always say that I'm like the king of the partial. Ben, a guy that works with me named Ben, he and I say that we're kings of the partial, where if someone comes in and they want a full, we will talk you into a partial like real quick.
But this is all you need.
Yeah, a couple key areas is all we need to hit, But I do love it now. And I'm like a little bit of sort of a control freak with that kind of stuff, where like if someone else is doing it, I'm like really thinking about it really hard. I'm not able to like detach away from like someone else doing it. In my salon, I've gotten a little better at that because I've trained everybody, or we trained together, or we went to school together, or, even I've mentored in some ways under people that work there. So I feel confident that they can do it. But at the same time, that something in the back of my mind is like, oh God. Like, I'm not over there, you know.
And then Fancy Hairdressers, is that the education company? Is that with you have online training as well? And then the scissors came out of that? Or was it just kind of like, we got scissors first and then let's make this into a training as well?
Fancy Hairdressers was sort of just like I said, at first, like sort of this satirical idea. It was just like a joke that we would like use as like our brand. But then it actually started like when we started teaching and all this. And like when I went independent, I was with another company, you know, I was with Salon in Atlanta, like right outside of Atlanta. I was the creative director for a salon there. And I was doing education with them. So it was all kind of branded under their education for a while. And then I was doing the Cosmoprof thing at, you know, kind of at the same time for a little bit. But when I went out on my own and I was no longer doing their stuff, I still wanted to do independent education along with doing what I was doing for brands. And that's when Fancy actually became like something like tangible. So really, I'd say it was in-person education, it was classes, it was like touring and you know, you do the same thing, you know.
Sure, right.
Just like take your lessons on the road and everything. But because we weren't in bands, even though we wanted to be, is what it feels like.
Right, exactly.
Teaching people to cut on the road, it like wishes that they were playing guitar, but
well, it's funny, behind the screen here, I have this is a pull down screen and it's just like, of course it's white and it's blue with blue lights on it right now, but there's a bunch of guitars on the wall. Cause of course, you know, deep down, I really want to be a rock star. So I want to just be around it and kind of feel like I'm a rock star but really I'm just a hairdresser.
And then going around, it feels like that kind of, and I would say like, no matter how famous of a hairdresser you are, it's like, it's like you're not that famous. Like I can go to Waffle House like right now and no one will say a word to me about anything, you know. You can't go to Walmart if you're Brad Pitt or something, but I can go to Walmart right now and have someone be rude to me, you know. But yeah, then it became the scissor. Like, you know, we had the idea for the scissor and then, you know, so it became the scissor and then it just started getting like steadier and steadier footing. And then it became, you know, in-person education, the scissor. And then March 1st, we launched fancyhairdressers.com, which is like online education. So that it's like digital educations, full length videos. It's like private lives. It's like, you know, it kind of creates this community. So you get discount codes, you get access to tickets to classes before everybody else, and you get like videos added every single month, cut, color, and style stuff being added. It's mostly cutting. We've just now, actually later this week, at the end of the week, the color library will go live. So they'll have color too. I have a lot of guest artists for that. So
that's amazing.
I'm filming it.
Sure. So with that, what platform are you hosting it on?
Well, so it's integrated into our website.
Okay. So is it your website? Is it like a WordPress or is it just actually all custom?
I guess it's WordPress. I have a company that does it. So I don't,
you hire out for that. You're like,
yeah. Where you were like, what kind of computer are you using? And I was like,
it's got an apple on it.
It's got fruit on it.
So I think it's missing part of an apple.
Yeah, someone already took a bite out of it. No, I don't really know. I'm not super good at technology and stuff like that. I can edit video, you know, to a certain degree, to a social media level degree, I would say. And I always say I was better at like presenting and at people and talking and that kind of stuff. So I actually have a business partner that like was the real brainchild behind Fancy, right? So he and I have been friends since we were like teenagers. You know, we lived together the whole time we went to hair school. His wife, we all lived together. He and I all lived together. She and I went to hair school together. We've like worked in every salon together, just kind of all come up together. Like, so, you know, it made sense for us to go into business. And even though he doesn't do hair, he's just so like drowning in hairdressers all the time because everybody around, I don't know if it's the same way for you, but it's just for some reason, everybody in my life, it just is a hairdresser, does hair, is involved with hair in some way.
Right.
So he came up with the idea for Fancy and he is sort of the behind the scenes, all the digital stuff, paperwork, like, you know, all that sort of stuff. There's something wrong with the website or whatever. He's the one who knows how to deal with that. Like someone sends me a message and I'm like,
you're the on-camera guy.
Yeah. I'm like, let me connect you with
the sales guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the one making typos, like doing 20 words a minute or whatever.
Amazing. So we're through the COVID year now, and of course we're into another COVID year.
We're to the next.
The next phase of it in 2021. In Georgia, there at your salon, did you experience any shutdowns? The entire country had one shutdown, right?
That's what we had was the original one.
The original, right? The original, and you recovered from that?
8 weeks for 2 months. We were shut down, but really the state only closed for like 5, but all the salons collectively decided, and I think it happened across the country really, but we all collectively decided on like March 15th, we were like, we're going to close. And everybody was like, we're going to close for 2 weeks. We'll see you guys April 1st, you know, 2 weeks to slow the spread. And then here we are.
Exactly. That worked well. Great. Good thinking, guys. Yeah.
We actually reopened in like mid-May. is when we reopened. And again, they opened us. They were like April 24th or something. They were like, you can open. And all of us were like, what? Like, how can we open? But they said you can open, but then they gave us this laundry list of stuff that we had to comply with in order to open. So I think most people in that moment just started like renovating. I was lucky. I got the jump on it in March. That was another thing. We were lucky with the website too, because we did that online education March 1st, not even thinking about a pandemic. We were just like, let's do online education in addition to in person. And we were just so lucky. I mean, it really, saved us for the year. So
I know a lot of people are going in that direction now because, of course, we all have to pivot. And of course, if you're living in California too, I mean, California hairdressers are just getting crushed, and it's a very sad thing. I mean,
it's sickening, really. I mean,
there's no real evidence that salons are super spreaders.
Well, the contact tracing out of New York that I see Eric from Salon Republic sharing that all the time. It said salons are responsible for like 0.14% of the spread, which is insanely low.
But Walmart's open, Target's open.
Yeah, Target, Walmart, Home Depot,
Costco.
Like they're definitely
strip clubs too.
More.
So if you want to go get a lap dance and a steak,
I literally saw a client. Well, Atlanta is very well known for its strip clubs. That's our prize jewel here.
But I'm saying in California right now, they're open.
Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah, they're open. Yeah.
That's crazy. A client of mine went to one, a female client, I will say, went to one, and she posted a video, which I don't think you're supposed to do when a strip club posts videos, but of her getting a dance, and the stripper was like not wearing anything but a mask. The stripper's like wearing a mask, giving a dance. And I'm like, I'm almost 100% positive you can get it.
From other
something's coming out of there. I mean,
other places on your body that might have access to the inside of your body. Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy. I'm sure that they have it. She's like, hand sanitizer. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Underwear is kind of a mask.
Oh yeah, she's like, it's the same. She's wearing a mask as underwear, and then she rips off and puts it on her. That's terrible. It sounds like a good act, though.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God, we're gonna get canceled for this. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not enough people that watch it, so you're fine.
Oh man,
what's this year looking like for you now?
I mean, the guidelines are that we have to have 10 feet between every chair, and we can only have one client per hairdresser in the salon at a time.
Okay.
Both of us in masks the whole time. So like somebody like me I was like, sometimes I was double booking, triple booking stuff. At least a few people that were doing that in the salon. So it's busy for what we have available. It's busy, but it's not what it used to be. That's for sure. But I mean, I can't complain. We're open. Like, I mean, sometimes I think like, oh man, I didn't like double stack haircuts on all this color today. But then I think about people in California that are just like twiddling their thumbs, waiting, trying to, who knows? It's almost like they're just divvying. You're in San Diego, right? It's like they're divvying out these shutdowns that are like, it's like a week long. It's at the end of the week, they're like, well, we're going to do 2 more weeks. And they're like, well, we're going to do 4 more days. And then we're going to do another week. It's like, they're just like sort of feeding you these little shutdowns as almost to pacify you slightly or something like, well, it's only this long.
It's bizarre though, because to some of us, it seems like we're in quarantine and we're laying very low with everything going on. And I think the new statistic is 1 in 5 people in LA have COVID. So I'm like, okay, we're just going to stay indoors as much as possible and just in our own
1 in
bubble
5,
here.
What's the population of LA?
What is the population? 10 million or something? I don't know. I think there's 800,000 cases or something like that.
Just in LA?
Just in LA. Yeah. That's a lot.
That's wild.
That's a lot of cases.
I mean, that's like one of the tightly packed
areas,
population besides like New York City or something. It'd be like LA, I would assume, right?
But it's like, so salons are closed, a lot of businesses are closed, people are eating outside in restaurants, but like the beaches will be packed.
Yeah.
The highways are packed with people going places. I'm like, where are you going? What is happening? So it's like either close it all or open it all. It's so weird right now.
Or at least like open the things that aren't the problem, right? Like don't say like, oh, well, strip clubs can be open and department stores, which I'm assuming is because they have enough money to lobby the government to stay open, whatever, as being essential, even though it's like, any mom and pop place, I'm sure could provide most of those services, or most of it could be provided online. But, if you're going to close, I don't say, some people would just say like open or whatever, like 3 sheets to the wind, like throw caution to the wind about this. But I'm like, I think people deserve the right to support themselves and the right to try to work in a safe way. Especially when the numbers and the data are like pointing to that. Even though I say that. I say about the numbers and the data, but I don't know what I'm talking about.
But I think you're onto something. I think that is the most important thing to follow. Science.
Yeah, it's like whatever we're being told, that's what I know. I'm just like based off of like, oh, they put out these numbers. Why are we not behaving in the way.
But here's the thing. It's like, depending on what news channel you watch or radio station you listen to, and you're being told something else. Half the population is hearing one thing and the other half is hearing another thing, which is why
people create these information vacuums for themselves. So like they're in a tunnel.
Yeah.
And it's not original thought anymore to even say this because of that Social Dilemma movie or whatever. But I mean, that is literally the situation, whether it's on the TV or in a newspaper or whatever you've gone to, they've already made up their minds and they're just trying to get as much advertising revenue as possible, get the most amount of clicks, the most amount of views and whatever, stress everybody out to the max. But, it's torn us apart. This has been super crazy. I can't even believe what we've seen this year, to be honest, not to be redundant.
No, it's shocking. It's shocking. It's like we never thought we'd live to see a day like this or a year like this even, right? And here we are.
Couldn't even conceive of it. Yeah. And I remember in February listening to the radio, listening to someone talk in China that draconian efforts may need to be taken. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds serious.
Draconian efforts.
Let me just drive and keep on. I won't think another thing about that. But it's like, you think about the seriousness of that now. Like the implications of draconian efforts. And we're just like, sucks to be them. And you just like keep going on with your life. I don't understand now, looking back on it, how none of us, you would think the government or people in power would be paying slightly closer attention than I was in the car. But, it was sort of in the back of my mind. I knew it was happening, but I was like, it's not going to happen to us. We've got cable and whatever.
Yeah, we kind of like shield ourselves from it to protect ourselves, right? And then until it actually hits home, and then somebody that gets sick or dies, and suddenly it's like, well, now it's real. But until it does that, people don't really respond the way they probably should. They make it very political. They make it just about the wrong reasons.
The issue that I can see for people is that people feel that they're being selfless on both sides. And when you think that you're doing something for the greater good of everybody, you're not going to be told anything different, like because of these information vacuums or whatever. It's like people, like you said, they get certain information and then they're going to be so steadfast. But I think though each side thinks the other side is being selfish. Mm-hmm. They're like,
of course, everybody's doing the right thing.
No problem. Like, oh my God, but
how could I be wrong? How could I ever be wrong? I know what's right. I'm not wrong. Yeah. Well, I'm not wrong either. Okay. We're all right. Yeah. We're all right. This is going well. So I think the plan is make a lot of money and buy an island and just put a big wall around that island even.
I think there's a candidate that ran on something similar to that. No. I built a wall. So we have a barber in the salon. Our salon is like 3 big rooms. It's like 2 like big, long, narrow rooms. And the third one is kind of like our color bar storage. And we added like a barber area back there, but it always looked a little unfinished. So this year we built a wall to like finish off the barber area.
Partition it off. Yeah.
I hear him in the other room saying to one of his clients, he's like, yeah, this is the only wall that got finished this year.
Oh, geez.
But that's what I love about my salon is we say that we are a non-censorship salon. Like you should be able to you should be able to make jokes about, if you can't joke about everything, you really can't joke about anything is what I
it's say. All or nothing, right?
Yeah. And you should be able to have conversation. Like, I think it's a big stigma in the salon to like people say you can't talk about politics. You don't talk about politics in the salon. I think previous years, sure, you don't talk about politics in the salon. But this year there was no avoid. If you were not talking about something political, then you were hiding your head in the sand. What are we supposed to talk about? We can't talk. We can only talk about Joe Exotic for so long. It was a few weeks of that, and it's like, well, did you see what happened on the news today? Again, So.
I think it just comes down to making sure that you have empathy for the person in your chair and around you, so that if you do really start to piss somebody off, which can happen very quickly, it's like, okay, I'm not going to keep poking the bear.
Well, if you're following guidelines, then your chair should be ample distance from anybody else.
Those loud talking stylists. There's plenty. You probably have some in your salon, and you're probably one of them.
I'm probably the loudest one in there. Yeah. Everyone's just under the shadow of my voice in there. But we do say that though. Like what you said, it's like you need to be respectful. It's like you need to be able to have these conversations without being offensive. We also say like you say something sexist, racist, or homophobic, and you're out the door. And I suppose I don't actually think those things are left up to interpretation, but maybe some people do. But you can have a conversation about actual politics without being sexist, without being racist, without being homophobic or whatever. So like you can avoid not say avoid, but you don't have to be offensive to talk about something that's important. So to me, what's crazy though? A lot of my clients, because I do talk about it so much, like right now, every client that sits down, I go, so you getting the vaccine? Like one of the
Just break the ice right away.
I just want to get a temperature. I'm taking a poll of Georgia, and it's about 50-50, I have to say. Half of them are saying, well, I say it's in thirds, because third are saying they're getting it. Third are saying, I'm going to wait and see what happens. And then a third are saying, like, never, it's going to, the 5G is coming or whatever. It's going to change my DNA. I don't know what's going on with it. Who knows? It could be. Who knows? I don't know. Keep in mind, my clients, because I do that so much, they started saying, like, well, I get my updates from you. Like, I look to you for the, I'm like, don't do that. Like, do not.
So you're creating another vacuum.
Like, I can show you how to lighten
Where
up.
did you hear that, Jacob K. Salon? Oh, yeah.
Exactly. It's like, well, I heard that the numbers. Well, where'd you get the numbers? I'm not handing out memos.
Right.
I'm literally like looking for 2 seconds of the Google News before you sat down and then talking to you about what I saw.
Here's the January newsletter. Everybody get your newsletter here.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
It's been a ride.
An old school zine, printed zine.
So let's change gears a little bit here. So Shelby, I follow her and you are engaged to her, right?
I am.
I've met her. She's an amazing person and she looks like she is an amazing chef.
She is. I would say, in cooking world, there is maybe some controversy about who is allowed to call themselves a chef, right? And Shelby's never like run a kitchen, like been a chef in a kitchen. She refers to herself as a recipe developer, right? Which is essentially what she does all day. Like, she's all day putting together recipes, putting together a cookbook that's going to come out, well, I guess this year now. I've been so used to saying next year, but it's going to come out later this year. So we're getting married in April, and then we're hoping for the cookbook to come out maybe in summer.
That's amazing.
It's all gluten-free because I have an allergy. And she has essentially saved my life, my digestion, like in ways I didn't even know. I'm all of a sudden like eating things that I thought I could never eat again, and people are like, oh, she was making a joke yesterday that her uncle was like, hey, I need like healthy advice for like eating. And she's like, well, I'm not really about it being healthy. It's allergy friendly, but it's like, it's mozzarella sticks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not everything is mozzarella sticks, but it's a lot of comfort food kind of stuff. And it's all got one of the biggest problems. If anyone out there is gluten-free, which I'm sure you are, because it's very cool to be and trendy to be gluten-free, then you know that a lot of the time it's like, it doesn't taste good, or it's bland, or the bread is hard or whatever. And you're sort of just given into that. Like, oh, well, I'm gluten-free. I have to accept the fact that it's just not going to be as good. But it's calling this cookbook Gluten-Free Flavorful. And it's going to be, it's the most honest title, because she's proven to me that I can have all these things that I thought I would never have again. I was like all sad, like, I'll never have pizza that's good again. Like, think about that thought. Like, you'll never have pizza again.
That's a terrible thought. I don't even want to go there.
And she showed me that you can actually be gluten-free and have it all taste good and, like, adhere to the diet pretty easily. Like, I didn't lose any weight, but I've lost like a pant size, because you don't even realize how bloated you are. Like, eating all of this stuff that just causes all this inflammation or has like messes with your digestion. I've been completely gluten-free now for like a year and a half. And I went down a pant size from, I was, I don't know, inflamed or something. I was like a hot air balloon.
So tell me, when did you find out you had to gluten-free, and how did you find out?
I found out through process of elimination, really. Like, I haven't gone and gotten tested for celiacs. It's like, I don't get hospitalized or something if I have gluten, like not like a peanut allergy, but if I have something that has gluten in it, I just have like really bad digestive problems. And it's like noticeable, like not like I'm like, oh, I think I feel a little funny. Like, I know, I'm like, oh, I must have had something that had gluten in it. And I found that out because I thought I was like lactose intolerant or something. So I cut out all dairy, and I was like, it's still happening. Like, this didn't fix anything. And then I cut out dairy and gluten, and then I was better. I added the dairy back, and I was still good.
Okay.
I think everybody is probably a little bit lactose intolerant, they say, but through that process of elimination, I realized, okay, I need to like not have gluten in my diet, or I'll feel normal.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast recently, and I've been on a health kick. Well, not just this new year, but my whole life pretty much. But I've been working out consistently for about 6 months, and it's been really awesome. Now that I'm doing that consistently, like actually working out, I want to start to really eat healthier. So I've been reading, books and doing the research on that. And it's just kind of a cool journey to try to figure out what your individual body type really requires. Because one thing I was learning about, and from this podcast and these books that I've been reading, is that the medical society or whoever said that these are calories and this is how you should judge nutrition information is just all wrong. How we see it.
The pyramid or whatever?
Yeah, it was
like bread.
Yeah, how each of us individually create fat, digest food. Yeah, none of it really makes sense. And it's
I
all
heard there's
about
like a DNA test or something that you can get that will tell you like avoid this and these things will be better for you. A friend of mine have you heard about that?
I've heard about that, and I've also heard about that it's really advised to go and actually speak to a nutritionist and get the allergy testing. And you spend, $500 to $1,000, whatever it is, to just get a full workup to find out exactly like what your body likes and doesn't like, and how much different it'll be when you start to really adhere to what your body.
Like you don't even know that you feel like garbage right now.
And how much better you'll feel and how much more energetic you'll feel if you actually give your body what it really needs. I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah. Tell me if the nutritionist is worth it or if it's like trying to sell you some snake oil or something, Well,
I don't want to go to anybody for a while until I get that vaccine. So
yeah, honestly,
I'll hold it out until then. I've survived this long.
I'm going to plug this computer in.
Okay. Yeah. No, that happened to me when I first started doing my podcast. And I was just, one of the hardest things I've come to learn is just getting set up and making sure that you have your battery charged on everything, make sure the audio sounds great. And there's just so many working elements to it. And something always goes wrong almost with every single podcast, Thankfully it's on your end this time and not mine.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. I think it's all right. It's working.
It's working. Oh yeah, it's great.
Well, I got some like stuff, in 2019, like mid 2019 to try and do a podcast, and the sound was the problem. Really, it was like I got the mics and I got this little like it's called like a Zoom or something like that. But it's like it has like 2 XLR inputs and then it just like records directly onto that.
I think I got one of those. Yeah.
It's like a little box. You can do it on the road or whatever. And whatever the mics I got, I was getting so much like anything. It was picking up on both with a delay, and I don't have like the sound engineering skills to like make that work after that's already happened. Luckily now, though, a friend of mine whose name is Tom Hardy, which is hilarious, I think. But it's not Tom Hardy, the actor. But he like has a service. So what he does, well, it's kind of like, it's like, I guess it would be, I don't know what that is, but it's something like that, where if you are a podcaster, you like send him your files, he'll like make intro, outro.
Dude, it's Podetize.
So
I think it's the name of his company.
Oh, so you know it already. Okay.
That's what I use.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Well, if it is,
he's a friend of yours?
He lives here in Atlanta. Yes, he's a friend of ours.
Dude, I talked to him like 2 weeks ago.
Tom Hardy.
He helped me get set up. If it's the same guy, yeah.
Well, if it's not the same guy, it's got to be a similar service. So I'm excited to give it a try now.
Who do I have? Is that other Tom? There's maybe
His name is also Tom.
Huh? Maybe it's Tom Hazard. Oh, okay. Hazard.
Are you kidding?
Tom H. Yeah. What? That's why I'm like, this sounds so familiar.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, okay. I think that they need to have a legal battle with each other. If it can there can be only one podcast helper named Tom.
But yeah, I'm using a service. It's called Podetize, and it's like probably very similar. It's awesome. I finish up with here, and I send it over to them. They put my intro on that we've already put together, and they make it all sound great and cohesive, and take out any areas that we maybe say or anything repetitive. It's pretty cool.
Oh,
and it makes me sound like I listen to my own podcast sometimes when I'm working out. I'm like, this sounds like something I could really listen to, and I end up listening to it for like an hour. I'm like, listen to myself for an hour.
Well, there's someone else on there too. Or you do a lot alone as well? You do like a lot?
I do about half and half, yeah. Recently, I've been doing a lot of interviews, which is great.
Interviews, like the alone stuff to me seems like it would be more difficult after a while. Like some people I listen to, I'm like, wow. Like I listen to this dude named Tim Dillon, like a stand-up comedian. He's just this outlandish, like ridiculous stand-up comedian that says the most ridiculous stuff to he's sort of this shock and awe kind of comedian.
Sure.
But I'm like, I listened to him rant. I'm like, how did you do that for 2 hours?
That's incredible.
2 hours. He says he does no preparation really. He's just like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and just do this. And he just like rants, and it's so entertaining. I mean,
that's the gift of gab right there.
Podcasting that's what makes me get through my workouts. Like you were saying that, like something similar.
Same thing. I listen to podcasts.
Listen to music or whatever. I'm still thinking about the workout, but if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm thinking about the subject of the podcast, and I won't even realize like, oh, I've been doing this for 45 minutes already.
I know. I'm taking notes. I've got my notebook. I work out in my garage where I've got this whole weight setup thing. It's pretty cool. And I've got a whiteboard on the wall. So I'm listening to my podcast. I'm working out. I'm making notes. It's like Ryan time.
You're an organized guy.
I'm getting more and more organized. I'm a lot more organized. Talk to me a year ago and I was a mess.
Well, yeah. I need to, I'm you a year ago. I have like, really, I've been working for like Matt and then like another girl that like has toured and like taught with me a bunch named Chelsea. They like really helped me manage stuff a lot. Like I'm like, yeah, we'll do that at that date. And they're like, you can't do that at that date. You already booked 3 things that day. And I'm like, okay, sorry. Talk to them.
That's why I have Amanda, my assistant. She manages my calendar, and I don't even know what I'm doing from day to day. I just ask her, hey, set this up, please. I don't say it like that. I say it in a nicer way than that. Yo, set this up. Make it happen now. Go.
Please.
No. Yeah, please.
Do this, please.
Pretty please.
Amanda.
You didn't just talk to me like that.
Jeez. We're going to try the podcast. We're calling it "This Is a Bad Idea" is the name of the podcast.
Which sounds like a great idea.
So, well, and the reason I wanted it was because of the idea of the salon, like the non-censorship salon idea, where you can say real stuff, you can have these conversations. But we're like, this is probably a bad idea because people can't handle conversation like very much these days. Like on no side, I feel is capable as far as at least online. In real life, I think that people are like nice, rational, level-headed, introspective, what I see from day to day. But then online, you only see like the loudest, craziest, like, ready to go to war kind of people, So I'm sure that we're going to get some backlash of that. I stalled out because of the technical difficulties, but also because I was like, I just don't even know if we should do this because I think it's actually a bad idea.
Well, the cool thing is though, initially there's not going to be a lot of people listening, so you can get some feedback from some people because not that many hairstylists or people in general are podcast listeners yet. It's still a medium that, of course, more and more people are doing it and listening to them, but it's still very early in its infancy, I guess you could say. And there's still a lot of room for like, let's play around with it. Let's find our niche first. And then hopefully we'll get an audience around that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't even know what to expect in terms of an audience, because I think that if I base it off of my following, then I'm going to be disappointed when the transcript.
Even if you have a huge following, you might be disappointed initially. So you just got to do it because you love doing it.
Yeah. Like moving people from like one platform to another, like is really hard to do. Like even fancyhairdressers.com, it's like we have like almost about 1,000 people signed up for the site. And then I made a private Instagram for them where I'm like, I can just connect with you really
put stuff out there.
And I've only got like 200 of them to go over there. I'm like, check your emails. Like, am I in your spam folder? If anyone's listening.
Welcome to online education.
Like if you're out there, go send your login to the
You'll get an email, 4 or 5 or 6 months later. How do you log in?
Well, I think maybe it's because it's MailChimp because it's like we send out these mass emails. So
and it goes to like junk.
Spams it or whatever. I don't know. Maybe people are just like, I don't feel like.
But they're, we're hairdressers in general. I think people in general, they don't check email as much as like say I do or we do because we're in an office in a business setting, right?
Exactly.
It's just, we look at our email inbox every single day and we're just like inundated. So we have to make sure that we're constantly on it. But somebody that's not really in the email business.
It's like, why check email these days?
Why check email? Yeah, I never get anything.
Yeah, it's like you got spam or you got like a bunch of things you signed up for. Mm-hmm. You were like, I had to get this discount and now Express just texts me. You're like, why did I do this for a vest? I don't even wear vests.
There's another service I signed up for recently. It's called Community. It's a texting service where it's another way to get your followers to go there and your own private phone number there. Of course, it's not like your cell phone number, but it's like an app that it goes to your app. You open it up and you can text everybody that follows you on that app. And of course, nobody ever doesn't open a text message.
Like your followers?
You know what I mean?
It gave you your Instagram followers' phone number?
No, God, no. It's not like something creepy like that. It's
I was all excited.
I know, that'd be amazing, right? That'd be amazing. And their addresses too.
Yeah, their social security number.
Yeah, but it's a way to do text marketing, So if you're doing events and stuff, you can say like, hey, I'm going to go live today at 1. Make sure you check it out, Just because text messaging is pretty much like you get like a 99.9% open rate.
How's your success getting people on it? Like they have to
it's harder because you got to get people to actually take action and text you. So you got to give them a reason to do it.
But no one does it.
Right. Totally. You just have to find a reason to do it and get them in the right situation to make it worth their while.
It's got to be hard this year too, because the amount of options that you have for digital is just through the roof.
Everybody's online now.
Everybody had to pivot. We all had to do something. You base a lot of your, I'm still in the salon, full time, basically. I do 30 hours a week, something like that in the salon. But we did 25 weekends teaching class at least. And then all the hair shows and, all that kind of stuff. So it was a huge part of the business. So if we didn't pivot, then we were going to be, at least for how we had things set up, we were going to be in some trouble. We had to make some education work. I'm feeling you probably were the same. Are you still in the salon quite often?
No, I actually closed my salon this year. I haven't actually worked personally in the salon for 2 years.
Okay. So you had a salon, you were stylists were taking clients and you were running it and doing everything, doing masters of balayage, doing everything.
Yeah.
And then this year, was the lease coming up or was it just because of the pandemic?
Let's just say it's coming up next year. We tried to get out early and it just didn't work in our favor. That our landlord was just not budging.
Are you paying the rent right now?
We kind of got screwed.
You're having to pay the rent?
But in a sense, yeah, we're having to pay the rent. Thankfully, we're able to qualify, I think, for some more grants. So we're slowly bleeding for another year, but it's still stress off my back.
You wouldn't be able to do it, right?
Right.
Like even if you were open, you'd be closed. So it's like,
yeah,
you sort of have this like, you should have been like, oh man, I wish that we could be open, but.
And thankfully, because we are closed, then we do get those days deducted at the end of our lease, which is great.
Oh, good. Wow.
So that's good for us. But of course, for everybody else that's not able to work, it sucks.
Like landlords are not helping out from what I can see. So, and leases too, that can be difficult, usually airtight.
Oh, totally. Yeah. It's been a trip.
How's that been? Yeah. Like you doing a lot of dolls?
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, I've got my studio here in basically the back of my house, which is great. So I never really have to leave home all that much. I work about 50 yards away from my house, which
That's
is
awesome.
nice. So I just kind of come back here. It's a pretty sizable studio here, and crank out doll heads, lots of doll heads, here and there. And
I don't even mind doing dolls. Like I've done it even the whole time. And I've said it in class to them, like, who's got a doll? Who's got a mannequin stand? And if you're doing a demo and you're like, who's got a mannequin stand? Maybe 20% of the audience puts their hand up. And I'm like, so who's doing hair when they're not in the salon? Because it's like, if you're a busy hairdresser, eventually you have the same clients. Like at least a large percentage of your clients are touch-ups and, maybe occasionally they're getting big changes or something. But if you've been doing somebody's hair for, months and months and months, years and years and years, it's like you're sort of getting into a little bit of monotony sometimes, I think, with them, maybe as styles change, their hair changes, but you know what I mean? It's like, you can only take an inch off so many times of, someone who's got this bob forever. So if I wanted to do things that were more creative or to challenge myself or to like push myself or just to like, I've been doing this thing called the weird haircut of the week, where a haircut on a doll that a person would, it's like a hard haircut to do, but a person would never ask you for it, kind of a haircut. It's like, it's hard, it's accurate, but it's ugly. And you don't, you don't want, or just overtly creative. It's like, so too creative for the salon because you don't have the opportunity to do that. So I always try to tell people in class, like, get a doll, get a stand, do hair at home. I mean, it's such a competitive thing that we do.
Right.
Like in order to truly be successful, it's like,
well, that's how trends are developed too, by doing stuff that's outside of the box that might not really make sense at the time, but is technically difficult because it's going to help you in the future with everything else that you do.
Oh yeah. I mean,
trying something different, trying something weird, because that weird could be a reality in 2 years.
Have you had any thoughts of like, I've been asked by people recently, like, well, what do you think the new trend is going to be?
Oh God. I don't know.
Like you say, you're like masters of balayage. I feel like stuff like that, natural, blended stuff is never going to go out of style at this point.
Yeah. And I'm glad about that. That's some good business longevity right there.
Oh, for sure.
Keep that going. We're going to keep pushing that.
I haven't locked the foil in God knows how long.
Right.
But because it's low maintenance, because it's easy, because, it's not to say it's easy to do, but easy for the customer to like, you can wear it longer and it'll, even grown out, it looks good. I don't see like people making a shift to purposefully higher maintenance hair in general. This is like probably one of the only times in history that low maintenance hair is like a thing. Maybe like what, like the 60s or something, where people were just growing their hair.
Really, and I think since you're the king of the partials, I think that's going to be probably one of the most popular trends, having a big impact, partial color, partial highlight, partial, basically how to do less with more. So you're in the salon less time and for less money.
Yeah. Or how to do more with less.
How to do more with less. What did we say? We said the opposite.
Is what we've been doing
right
previously.
Yeah.
But I think we also see like sort of blocky colors and like bold stuff like coming back if you're really progressive and you're wearing like really kind of like funky stuff. And the other thing I got asked about recently, rather than I came up with an answer for this recently, was I see the curtain bang growing out. So I don't see, and specifically, why? Because of masks is why I think they're growing it out. Because if you're like this, and then you've got, bangs like this, and then you put a hat on or whatever,
and sunglasses on top of that.
There's just this Unabomber type character going around. So I see people kind of like still wanting this like ponytail layer movement, softness, looks like you just put your hair up and these pieces just fall out or whatever. There wasn't a lot of intention, but maybe less heavy, like right in the front.
Yeah, I think masks are here to stay for a while for a lot of people. I think even when I get on an airplane, even in the future, I might even just bring a mask with me, depending on how I feel about who's sitting next to me.
If we've like curbed it, if we're vaccinated, we don't all turn into zombies or whatever because of the vaccine or whatever happens from that.
You're right.
And it works and the cases go down, then I still think that it's an important thing to be like exposed to germs.
Right. Yeah.
I literally looked yesterday how many cases of the flu have been recorded, like begin early January, first week into January, whatever, compared to like previous year? And it was like thousands within the first week of January. And it was like this year, it's like,
Oh, last year. And then compared to this year, it's probably hardly any, right?
yeah, it was like less than 50, you know?
Yeah.
So there's one of two things happening, right? It's either that we're conflating some of these cases with COVID. People are like not getting tested for the flu because they're like, I'm just not going to go out because I have these symptoms. I probably have COVID. I'm not going to get tested. Or because we're masked and we're so separated, people just aren't getting the flu. What worries me about that, and again, I'm a moron and I'm not a doctor, is that I think if you're not around it and you don't build up some immunity, or like, you know, you're just completely, we're so sanitized and we're so covered and we're so like, you know, that when we do get exposed to sicknesses,
It might be harsher.
where the regular cold is going to hit you like
Yeah.
a ton of bricks, man. It's like, so we got to be careful. So I'll probably be licking the handrail at the airport as soon as I get my vaccine. just to
Oh, I know. I
double
see
up.
my daughter. She's like, you know, licking the dogs. The dogs are licking her. She's licking stuff off the carpet. Like,
I heard that their inside of their mouth is
yeah, right.
is cleaner.
Maybe to them it's the cleanest,
Well, that's
right?
why I said to people that, like, you know, inside of a dog's mouth is like cleaner than. I'm like, no, I don't think that's true.
To a dog.
Yeah, it's like I think that they're able to withstand the
Like
bacteria.
break down all of the bacteria and stuff so that they don't get
That's why
sick
if you
from
get
it. But
bit,
yeah, not
it gets infected, and you know,
yeah. My dog eats shit.
literal shit.
Like literal shit. His own shit. So I'm not getting near that dog's mouth.
Yeah, I mean,
basically.
my dog literally. I just had like 12 teeth pulled from one of my dog's mouth. He's old. He's getting really old, and his teeth.
12?
12. And I was like, well, how many teeth do dogs have? Like, is that you have 3 left? And he still has it looks like he has a good bit in there, but he had the worst breath ever because of it. I admittedly, people are probably gonna be listening to this like, oh, he's a bad dog owner, which, you know, it's like, I didn't do a whole lot for his teeth. I didn't think about it really.
Right.
You know, I gave him some greenies, some little teeth, you know, some things like, oh, he chews this, it's supposed to help his teeth. But apparently you got to like brush them. Like I've heard some vets are like brush them every day. I'm like, wow.
Are you serious?
But he's better
With
now.
like the gauze finger, right? You put gauze on your finger and rub it in there. I mean, yeah, because we all have time for that.
Yeah, I'm like, well, we do, I guess now.
Yeah, I guess we should, right? Yeah.
There's all that 25 weekends that you're not doing on the road. You're doing it brushing your dog's teeth.
We're too busy trying to brush our daughter's teeth right now. That's a
How
chore.
old is your daughter?
She's 2. It's
How many
crazy.
teeth? You got teeth at 2? I'm not ready to be a parent.
She's got a full mouth of teeth.
full mouth of teeth
Yeah.
at 2. Wow.
Yeah. She's had teeth for a while. Yeah.
See, this is not good. Like, people are like, you're getting married, you're gonna have kids. I'm like, I think so. But then I'm like, how many teeth are they supposed to have?
Oh no, you learn as you go. Yeah, I didn't know any of this. You know,
All right.
I'm like, so when do they start driving, and when is this all this? When they start dating?
She
And
likes getting the teeth brushed, or like,
well,
scared
because
of it,
it tastes like banana split, like the toothpaste.
that
You know,
sounds
and
good.
it was funny because the other day I was just like really tired in the morning and I was brushing my teeth. You know, it was a good morning. We actually remembered to brush my teeth.
You're not just like, I'm late, and you're just like out the door.
I'm just like late, coffee. I'm
Where
going to
did
have
you
coffee
ask
anyway.
for?
So I'm just, it's going to stink anyway.
This
Right.
is a nightmare with the mask on. Just breathing.
Exactly. I'm just going to the backyard
Yeah.
for a Zoom call. Right. But I grabbed the toothpaste thing and it was like half asleep and I put it on my toothbrush and I was brushing my teeth. I'm like, this tastes like banana split. I'm like, yep, it's my daughter's
Is there
toothpaste.
sugar in it? Like,
I'm sure there is. Yeah. Like it's not like sugar.
at this point for her though, she's gonna.
It's like the
lose
Burt's
teeth,
Bees
right?
stuff or something. So it's supposed to be healthier. I don't know. She can swallow it. It's not like
There's no
it
fluoride.
doesn't have fluoride or anything in it.
It's almost like you're teaching habits at the moment. Like to get it.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
these teeth are gonna go. Like
They're going to go. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Teaching habits.
Yeah.
But she's at this stage right now where she just like kind of mimics everything we do. And it's like so cute and so funny. But it's like we got to be careful like what we do, what we say, because she's starting to repeat like a parrot.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got a mouth too. It's like it's hard. Like we've got friends who've got a 4-year-old son. She was telling me that they were in the grocery store and she was like, "Hey, don't let us leave without onions." Like to the 4-year-old, like give him a task. Like remind me of the onions before we go. And then they forget the onions. They're checking out, and he goes, "Mom, the fucking onions!" He's 4 years old. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, everybody." Or whatever. Because I'm sure, it's like it almost doesn't register to me that like a 4-year-old understands what I'm saying if I'm not talking directly to the 4-year-old. It's like, oh, he's just aloof, but no, it's like he's cataloging.
Oh no, 4. She knows what we're talking about at 2. Which is baffling. And she can't barely speak a word of English, but she understands almost everything we say. We'll say like, go over there and grab this. She'll go over and grab it,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Can you get my phone?
I love that you said that she doesn't speak a word of English, as if she
she speaks all the time.
Mandarin Chinese only.
It sounds a lot like Chinese. Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with the Chinese language, but it sounds a lot like that. Partial alien.
Which is a very small, a very rare dialect from a very specific area.
She's very animated,
There you
like hands flying around, like she's really explaining things, and just kind of gets really frustrated sometimes when we don't get it. She'll like look at me and just be like,
I've said that you are animated before, so that makes sense.
yeah, it's funny to see her,
for my
wow, she's so
for my
animated. I wonder where she
birthday,
gets that from.
When you were supposed to, they tried to get you to roast me
Oh yeah.
for my birthday, and you were just like, "Be nice to him, ladies." He's like, big smile on him, like he's like so animated, like he's like a character.
That's
That
awesome.
was hilarious. You ever do a thing called Cameo before? You know of Cameo?
I've heard of it. Yeah, what is it?
So it's essentially like if you have some semblance of celebrity, you can put yourself on this website and people can like say give $50 and you'll record a greeting or you'll record a message for them. So like
interesting.
Who did I see on there? Well, they got a guy named Brian Posehn. You know who Brian Posehn is? He is like a stand-up comedian.
Okay.
He was touring with like Patton Oswalt and people like that on the Comedians of Comedy tour. I'm big into stand-up. I really like stand-up a lot. And they got him to record me a message, and I didn't like know about Cameo when this was happening. So this is how I discovered it. And it's like, oh, it's like you, it's like people I know, you know, it's like whatever. It's really cool. But then all of a sudden, it's Brian Posehn, someone that I'm like, this guy is like on Comedy Central and is like a big voiceover actor and huge stand-up comedian, like really one of the biggest stand-up comedians. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, why is this guy?
So you go on there, you find the person that is on there, and you basically you pay like $50 and they take
they put different
10 seconds and do a quick video,
you
right?
You can choose whatever you want. It's like, let's say if you decided to make one, you could be like, you want me to make a cameo for you, $50 gets you 30 seconds, $100 gets you a minute. You know, you can like decide what they purchase and how much it costs.
Okay.
So that was like
shirt on, you know, this much, shirt off, this much.
That they have stuff. If you end up as a celebrity on there, you're either just like, why don't I make a little bit of extra money, or you're on the way out. Like it's like things aren't going great.
Oh, right. You know? Before you go to Vegas, if you can have a Vegas career.
I just got off Dancing with the Stars or something, you know, and now you're on Cameo because no one cares. You didn't win. No one cares. I ramble. I know that I do that. I know that I just talk 1,000 miles an hour and whatever. I hope it's not too much. I always think about that.
Oh, you mean for this podcast?
Yeah. So I just like,
oh, dude, this is fun, man.
Okay,
this is great. I feel like some of this is people just want to like hear people talking about real shit, you know, and sometimes conversations just kind of go in 1,000 different directions. And I feel like you can still learn a lot about the people that you're listening to, even if it does go on 17 different tangents.
Well, that's like an issue of mine is that I've always like, I don't sleep very well, to be honest. Because I'm like really moving. My mind is like moving like 1,000 miles an hour. Like I'll lay down to sleep and it won't even, sometimes it's not even productive. Like it's just that I'm thinking about stuff. I'm trying to sleep and I'm like, oh, like when I was 12, I said something in a way
that happens to me,
you know,
too.
Why am I doing that? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe it's I don't even like calling myself a creative. Maybe it's a creative thing.
You just have a busy mind and I do too.
Right to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also the mind of an entrepreneur where you're an entrepreneur. I mean, you know, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's just part of our nature as an entrepreneur. We are just always thinking, okay, what's next? What do we got to do? I haven't done this. I got to do this. And then you're like, think about your childhood. This is a good story I should tell. Or this is like what I got to relate to, or why I should do a post about this.
It'll happen. And then I'll like snap back into it and be like, whoa, like how long have you been thinking about this? Like you were off on some ridiculous tangent, not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Oftentimes supposed to be sleeping, you know?
Yeah, right. Like I've tried sleepy time tea. It doesn't work. That's just like the biggest waste of my time.
Oh yeah. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Drink some hot water and just,
you know, sometimes I'll smoke some pot and then it'll work. And sometimes it won't. I'll just be like, great, now I'm just gonna be stoned for 4 hours.
Like if I say that, then I might have the GBI bust through this window right now.
Are you serious? Oh, wow.
No, but we're in the city of Atlanta. It is decriminalized to the point that if you have under an ounce, it's a ticketable offense, right? But I don't live in the city anymore. We wanted property and we wanted more space and whatever, not because of COVID, but literally just you know,
just for more privacy and more space,
whatever, moving on with my life and being like, oh, I don't go to the club anymore. Why am I paying this much for rent? Like I might as well go out to we wanted chickens. I want to throw an axe in my backyard and not have my neighbor like looking at me like I'm crazy. But that's not working because we have like an acre and a half, but one neighbor is like sort of has like a view. And I've only met him one time. It was because his dog got out and he was coming to tell me like, he's got a husky. So he's like a big dog. He's like, hey, my dog got out. And as he comes out, I'm making a video where I've nailed a mannequin head to a target in my yard and I'm throwing axes
geez.
at it. I'm literally hucking hatchets at this mannequin head. He comes over and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to let you know my dog just got."
I'll see you later, man.
I had to explain to him. I'm like, "Well, I do things on the internet." And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I'm just gonna go."
That's funny.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, mannequin heads just in general freak people out that aren't
They
hairdressers,
don't understand
right?
like what is.
And then you see somebody throwing an axe at one that's all set up nice and positioned perfectly.
Not in the back.
Your neighbor, of course, you're like, I got a Unabomber next door to me.
That's what I actually love about our front yard, about our property in general, is that like you can't really see like our house or our yard from the road. Like you have to kind of go down the driveway. It's like a real long driveway, so you get a little more.
That's how ours is too. I absolutely love
in
it,
San
man.
Diego?
Yeah, well, we moved a little bit further out. We're about maybe 30 minutes from the nearest beach, which is not too far, which is great.
Like you're saying,
No, we're in Escondido.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in like San Diego County, but in Escondido, which is
that's like me with saying I live in Atlanta still, but I actually live in Woodstock.
Yeah. It just keeps a lot of explaining out of the way, you know?
Yeah, like, no one knows where Woodstock, Georgia is. They're like, oh, okay. Like, you guys have electricity? You know, I'm like, they just say that we're in Atlanta and they get it. Same for San Diego.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so we're a little bit further out because we wanted a place with more land, more privacy, same thing, bigger house. You don't get much by the beach for what we wanted to, you know, even if we're willing to pay a lot of money, it's like you're still not going to get a lot, right?
How's that? Even with everything that's happening in California, is that housing market staying strong out there?
It is where we are. Yeah.
This was the year to buy out here. I mean, rates were crazy low. Look at us. We're so adult.
They're still, I know. They're still low here. And we got in at a good time. We bought a year ago. And there was a good time as well.
At least here, you know, around the country, there's this talk of like an exodus from California and like from New York City and stuff.
We're planning it actually. We're looking to go to Colorado in a couple of years. I mean, we'll see. That's just the goal at the moment right now, but just love Colorado. We love the mountains. I live close to the beach, but we never go. And the beach is just getting more and more crowded, and
it's covered in hypodermic needles.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. That's Venice.
Oh yeah, exactly. I guess I've only ever been to San Diego one time. We went to a salon called Rinse there in San Diego and taught a class.
Rinse. Oh, that's downtown. Yeah, they have classes and stuff.
They're great. I love it over there actually. But yeah, I didn't get to fully experience San Diego all that much. Like we were just like in this like what's it called? Like a gas lamp. The gas lamp.
Yeah, the gas lamp area. Yeah, like San Diego's great, but it's not where I want to live anymore with family. If that makes sense. Like, you know, I have kids now, and I want them to kind of have more freedom with outdoors and just not be around so many people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's definitely something to think about. You know. I've actually, one of the only places I haven't been is Colorado. I've never been to Colorado, and I would it would be a place I would love.
You got to check it out. If you go just fly into Denver or something like that, I mean, there are so many cool places within like an hour. You know, they're in the mountains, and you don't have to travel very far, and you can still be really close to like a hub.
I used to like to snowboard and all that stuff back in the day as well. I never did anything good though, because I was in the Northeast at the time when I was like really It was like up in like Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New York, places like that. So we were snowboarding, but it was like hills, not like down like a mountain. So I always wanted to get out there and do something like that, you know. But I got a bad knee now, so I don't like to.
Hey, you're getting old, man.
Well, I tore my ACL in my meniscus in my left leg. I used to like rock climb all the time.
Okay.
I hyperextended my leg bouldering, which is like
that sucks.
You know, doing these like short routes with no rope.
Yeah.
And I like did this heel hook, put all my weight, too much weight on it, and just bent it. And now I have a cadaver, a donor ACL in this leg.
Wow.
And I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll be playing soccer and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? The haunted ACL. Most of my jokes are just for me.
That's kind of the way I am too. My wife just looks at me and she's like, rolls her eyes. She's like, oh God, now my daughter's doing it.
Now you get to actually make dad jokes now, you know?
Oh, I know. I can finally do that. And I have freedom. It's amazing. It's changed everything.
Jokes, and then when you become a dad, they're dad jokes and they have like a purpose. Mine are just still.
You are planning on having kids then, huh?
I wasn't planning on having kids until being with Shelby. And I think it truly took like finding the right person, being with the right person, you know, like having that confidence in your relationship and knowing like,
totally,
at least we feel we're going to make it. You know,
right.
In the past, I was always just like, even if I felt like, oh, I'm, you know, in a serious relationship or whatever, I was like, oh no, I'll never have kids. And I never equated it to the relationship. I always thought it's a personal thing for me, but only now do I think I realize that once you maybe find the right person, things can change. I'm also older.
Well, it's wild, man. It's like being a dad and you have kids. You think you know what love is until you actually have your kids. Everything changes. Suddenly it's all about them. You can't wait to see them. You might be sick of them at the end of the day. You're just like, you're just at your wit's end from them not listening to you. But then they go to bed and you pull out your phone, you're watching videos of them and scrolling through pics of them. It's like the craziest thing. Well, and then you're just wondering if they're going to die the whole time because you're just afraid of everything. You're like, you look around the house, you're like, that's sharp. That's dangerous. We got to fix this. Everything becomes a page
project on Instagram that you should follow. that I think will maybe make it worse. It'll make your worries worse. It's called.
I don't think that's possible.
It's called "Kids Getting Hurt." Is what the page is.
Great idea.
It's not like any kids are getting like really badly hurt, but it's like kids are clumsy and they're like they fall weird and stuff. So it's like a bunch of things like that. Like.
Yeah.
Like kid walking, looking back at its mom and then whacking its head on a table or something and falling over. And the parents are like laughing in the video, but it's super entertaining. I really do like it.
I'll check it out. Well, we look at our kids like they're new cars and, you get that first scratch or they get that first little bump and it's like the end of the world, the end of the world. You're just like, oh my God, are you okay?
Well, I'll have to see how I do. I already sort of like that with the dogs a little bit. So, but people say that, I feel like that's gotta be an offensive thing. When you say to someone who's like got kids and you're like, well, my dogs are my kids. And you're like, hey, yeah, shut up.
You're like, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. And I used to say that too before we had kids. I was one of those people that I'm like, well, we have dogs, so we're getting, practice. And then you have kids, you're like, the two are nothing at all the same.
Like, I could leave that dog in a cage for hours. I can't do that with a kid.
That dog is self-sufficient from day one. It might not know where to poop or how to, know how to control it
from like step one. Yeah, exactly.
But it will feed itself. It will relieve itself. It will protect itself and sleep fine.
It will relieve itself. See, he's a family man. He's a family show.
Dude, we should probably get wrapping up here, man. You and I could chat
it's been
forever.
Like an hour and a half. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Crazy how that goes. Right. Cool, man. Well, I would love to do this again because this was fun. And
I would love it anytime.
Cool.
Just let me know. If I actually get the podcast working on our end as well, we'd love to have you on too.
It'll be a really good idea to be on the Really Bad Idea podcast.
Yeah, it's a great idea for you to be on This Is a Bad Idea.
I would love that.
And whenever you're able to travel again, when you guys did class at my salon, my first salon, so we moved on, we're like 3 or 4 times that size now. But everybody had incredible things to say about it. I was very jealous. I wasn't there. And everybody was like, he's such a good presenter. I'm like, well, I'm a good presenter. Who's right? No.
That was 3 years ago. Wait till they see me now. Okay.
Ooh, yeah. But I would love to have you back.
Now that I've been locked away in a little cubicle here.
Now that we haven't presented for a year, we're probably better at presenting, right? Or are we?
Exactly.
We'll find out soon enough.
Exactly.
You get that shot, you come on through.
All right. Yeah, it sounds perfect, man. And same thing for you. I wish I could invite you to my salon, but we should definitely do something. I know we have some plans with Mob to have some big events once we can have big events again, and maybe we can get you up on stage.
You guys say the word, I'll be there.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for being here. How can people find you? I'm sure everybody listening already knows where they can find you, but let's talk about Fancy Hairdressers as well as if they want to reach out and say hi.
So you can find me on Instagram at Jacob H. Khan. That's JACOBHKHAN. You can go to fancyhairdressers.com and sign up for full and ever-growing library of step-by-step videos for only $10 a month. We call it Simple Education for Fancy Hairdressers. Education that is going to be effortless and give you real-life haircuts, real-life hairstyles to bring you real-life salon success. So check that out. And you can also go to Fancy Scissors on Instagram as well if you want to pick up a pair of scissors.
All right. You fancy, huh? This is great. All right, man. Thanks for being here today.
I appreciate you having me.
I love hearing from you. And by the way, have you subscribed to the podcast yet? Oh my gosh, if you haven't, please do so right now because there's so much cool stuff ahead. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because it would be much cooler if you did. Plus, I don't want you to miss any of the new episodes I'm dropping weekly. Last thing, if you haven't checked out RyanWhedon.com yet, there are some great freebies on there that I want to give you. So go ahead and check it out, RyanWhedon.com. Thank you so much for listening. You are awesome.